Live from the BDN Studios, it's Bang and Dang.
That's awesome.
If you don't like that, then
You ain't black.
Welcome back to Outlaws and Gunslingers with your hosts Bang and Dang, and we are here for another riveting episode of the best true crime podcast in the land that we call America.
For now, we call it that.
A stain in the American history, the history of America, the old 59th anniversary coming up here of the JFK assassinations.
This will probably be one of the darkest stains. You know, all the other stains they were able to get out after time. You know, wash, and you can barely see it.
Blood stains orange after you wash it 3 or 4 times in the tub, but that's normal, ain't it, Norman?
Yes.
Yeah, this is where the conspiracy started, I think. Ever since, I think this is one of the biggest, like, obviously people with the conspiracy eyes, they look at everything else in history nowadays. They go back through a conspiracy lens and like, well, maybe this was, but this literally right after it happened, people were already questioning it and already questioning how many shooters there were. Where were they? Maybe Oswald didn't do it. Maybe he was sent. Maybe the mafia did it. Maybe Cuba did it. Maybe something. There was always questions from day one with this shit. So, and 60 years later, literally none have been answered.
Well,
because they did the whole Trump tried to release the records,
right.
but they released the records and 98% of it was still redacted.
Right, idiots.
Like, okay, so that did nothing. Yep. JFK assassination. This is going to be a long boy here. Maybe 3 episodes.
Well, if you take a look, though, John F. Kennedy was not a regular Democrat. And I don't know how he got together with LBJ, because when that guy took office, oh, wow. Talk about a shift in freaking policies. I think LBJ was a little part of it, possibly. Maybe Robert Kennedy, too?
I don't know about that.
They knew too much.
I don't think about that, but Bush.
Oh, definitely. Georgie.
Lots of, plus JFK's dad was a member of Preston, wasn't it? No, that's Preston Bush. JFK's dad, whatever Kennedy, he was who did he know? Didn't we have an episode? He knew somebody that was one of the rum runners or something. Yeah, he was like a rum runner and that kind of shady shit back in the day too. So yeah, there's lots of connections that it could be. We'll get into all of those. Trust me, we got a whole section on conspiracies.
Don't forget Freemasonry, because Freemasonry was still very strong at this time.
Well, still is now. We're talking about at this time. John F. Kennedy, JFK, 35th president, assassinated Friday, November 22nd, 1963, 12:30 p.m. in Dallas while riding in a motorcade through Daley Plaza. And everybody knows, seen the footage.
First of all, how many times has a president ridden in an open top?
Always.
I don't think so.
Kennedy did it always. You had presidents, obviously, they were riding in carriages.
Oh, yeah. That was back in the day.
I think there was a lot of open tops.
Maybe.
Actually.
Maybe
not. Because there's about 5 presidential limousines at the Ford Museum down there in Michigan. And even the one that John F. Kennedy rode in, that's not even because who did it afterward? Nixon did that, rode in it, didn't he?
Maybe.
I think Nixon had his afterwards, but they took off the drop top and put a regular top on it. But they have, I think, Roosevelt, FDR's, and then they have Teddy's, which was a carriage, and that it looked worse than the poor people's carriages on Westerns. That's all, like, it was tiny as shit, and but yeah, man.
Yeah, what you can do?
Right now, nobody had been assassinated since Lincoln, so, well, I don't know. I lied, McKinley or whatever, but that didn't count. So many questions. We'll get to them all. Obviously, everybody remembers the footage of old Jackie
Reaching back and grabbing his brain.
Reaching back and grabbing his brain and speeding away. then we have the lady with the umbrella that's so mysterious in the pictures. And did the shot come just from the depository, or did it come from the grassy knoll?
Right.
Zapruder film, all that shit going on here. As we know, Parkland Memorial, Parkland too. Parkland, I noticed that's popped in more than one of our shows where Parkland something pops up as well too.
It's crazy, man.
I don't know. Maybe there's who knows? Who knows?
Of course there are.
He was pronounced dead after 30 minutes, so we'll get into all that. But as you know, the old culprit himself, Lee Harvey, could he be a patsy? Did he really do it? Was he a communism supporter that had ties to Russia? We don't know. We'll get into it, but first we got to get into his life. He was born at the Old French Hospital in New Orleans, Louisiana, October 18th, 1939, to Robert Edward Lee Oswald Sr., lived at 1939, and Marguerite Frances Claverie, who died in 1981. I wonder how she lived her life after that, huh?
All right.
Robert Oswald was a third cousin of President Theodore Roosevelt. That's right. And a distant cousin of General Robert E. Lee. He also served in the Marines during World War I.
Wait, his dad died the same year that he was born? Oh, shit.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Didn't realize that. Yeah. Didn't ever know his daddy. Well, there's one issue already, right?
Yeah.
Oh, Robert died of a heart attack 2 months before Lee was born.
Oh,
so
shit.
Lee's elder brother, Robert Jr., who lived till 2017, was also a former Marine. There's a family of Marines there.
Uh-oh.
Through Marguerite's first marriage, Edward John Pick Jr., Lee and Robert Jr. were the half-brothers of Air Force veteran John Edward Pick, who died in 2000. I don't know. Okay.
Right.
So, family of servicemen.
Yeah.
1944, Marguerite moved the family from New Orleans to Dallas, and Oswald entered the first grade in 1945. And over the next half dozen years, attended several different schools in the Dallas-Fort Worth areas through the sixth grade.
This is all around, eh? All around. Oswald took an IQ test in fourth grade. Score 103.
Hey.
As a child.
That's smarter than probably 70% of the population.
Smarter than the average bear.
Right. JFK.
As a child, Oswald was described as withdrawn,
Right.
temperamental.
Hey.
Several people that said this.
What is this, Hung Si Cho or what?
Right. Several people who knew them have said this. That boy is withdrawn and he can be temperamental. I wonder why. When Oswald was 12, August 1952, his mother took him to New York
City,
where they lived for a short time with Oswald's half-brother, John.
Hey.
Oswald and his mother were later asked to leave after an argument in which Oswald allegedly struck his mother
Oh, shit.
and threatened John's wife with a pocket knife. I
Oswald.
think it's time to go.
Yeah.
She's like, Ma,
You got to get out of
You
there
know I
with this
love you,
little
Ma.
psycho.
you know I love you, Ma, but you got to go. It's probably not even his mom.
Right. Oswald attended seventh grade in the Bronx, but was often truant, which led to psychiatric assessment at a juvenile reformatory.
Dang, this dude is messed up from the get-go.
Yep. The reformatory psychiatrist, Dr. Renatus Hartogs,
Yeah.
described Oswald as immersed in a vivid fantasy life, turning around the topics of omnipotence and power, through which he tries to compensate for his present shortcomings and frustrations.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's living in his own world, apparently.
Right.
Dr. Hartogs concluded Lee has to be diagnosed as personality pattern disturbance with schizoid features and passive-aggressive
Ooh,
tendencies.
this dude is all over the place.
Lee has to be seen as an emotionally quite disturbed youngster who suffers under the impact of really existing emotional isolation and deprivation, a lack of affection, absence of family life, and rejection by self-involved and conflicted mother.
Oh, jeez.
Self-involved mama, huh? So she didn't care about her kid babies, huh?
she was
That's what
out.
it's looking like there.
She's out on town.
She was a lady of the night.
She lost her hubby. She's out on town.
Okay, so we know that Lee goes into the military. I guess maybe we'll get there if they just explain it. But he's got all these things,
Right.
and he's
crazy.
diagnosed. Supposedly, he has to be diagnosed.
Right.
And that's the doctor. Well, it's a psychiatrist, though, I
Right.
guess. So I don't know.
Well, Hartogs recommended that Lee be placed on probation on condition that he seek help and guidance through a child guidance
Let me guess.
clinic.
Nobody followed through up on that.
And that Oswald would have to seek psychotherapeutic guidance through contact with a family agency. Okay. Evelyn D. Siegel, a social worker, interviewed both Lee and his mother at Youth House while describing a rather pleasant, appealing quality about his emotionally starved, affectionless youngster, which grows as one speaks to him.
Affectionless.
Right. a rather pleasant, appealing
He doesn't
quality.
care about nothing.
Right.
He has no emotions. He doesn't show affection. He doesn't care about shit. He's just,
Right. She found that he had detached himself from the world because no one in it ever met any of his needs for love.
Wow.
Poor guy. Hartogs and Siegel indicated that Oswald's mother gave Lee very little affection.
Yeah, that'll do it.
With Siegel concluding that Lee just felt that his mother never gave a damn thing for him. He always felt like a burden that she simply just had to tolerate.
This probably did. Sounds like a piece of shit to me.
Right.
Furthermore, his mother did not apparently indicate an awareness of the relationship between her conduct and Lee's psychological problems, with Siegel describing Marguerite Oswald as a quote-unquote defensive, rigid, self-involved person who had real difficulty in accepting and relating to people.
Oh, okay.
And who had little understanding of Lee's behavior and of the protective shell he has drawn around himself.
Yeah, because she ain't paying attention.
Right. Hartogs reported that she did not understand that Lee's withdrawal was a form of violent but silent protest against his neglect by her and represents his reaction to a complete absence of any real family life.
I mean, most of these psychos have mother
Hey,
issues.
how about this? Show the boy some love and he wouldn't have done it.
Right.
Well, we don't know that, but because we'll get into, was he radicalized by the Russians or communism or some shit like that afterwards?
Maybe.
It's not like he, I don't know, I guess we'll see, but he's not going around beating the shit out of people and,
We'll find out.
before then.
All right. When Lee returned to school for the 1953 fall semester, his disciplinary problems continued.
Oh.
When Oswald failed to cooperate with school authorities, they sought a court order to remove him from his mother's care so he could be placed into a home for boys to complete his education.
Yeah, it was the 50s, dude.
I mean, that's probably the best thing to do. But this was postponed.
Yeah, those home for boys are usually run by like nuns and shit.
Right. Well, this was postponed, perhaps partially because his behavior abruptly improved.
Yeah, he probably said to himself, "Yeah,
He's like, oh, shit.
go away."
He's like, damn, these guys are serious. Before the New York family court system could address their case,
Hey,
the
there you
Oswalds
go.
left New York in January of 1954, and they returned to New Orleans.
Yep, I can get out of here. New York's
Right.
crazy.
Mhm. Oswald completed the 8th and 9th grades in New Orleans. He entered the 10th grade in 1955, but quit school after 1 month. After leaving school, all right, how were they getting money with the family? Was mom working?
Who knows?
After leaving school, Oswald worked for several months as an office clerk and a messenger in New Orleans. July 1956, Oswald's mother moved the family to Fort Worth, Texas. Oswald re-enrolled in the 10th grade for the semester session at Arlington Heights High School. That was in Fort Worth, Texas.
All right. A few weeks later in October, Oswald quit school again at age 17 to join the Marines.
Oh, shit.
He never earned a high school diploma. By this point, he had resided at 22 locations and attended 12 schools.
Jeez.
Though Oswald had trouble spelling in his youth and may have had a reading spelling disability, he read good. By age 15, he considered himself a socialist. There we go. According to his diary, and it's called a journal for guys,
Right.
just so you know. I was looking for a key to my environment, and then I discovered a socialist literature. I had to dig for my books in the back dusty shelves of libraries.
Oh, wow.
At age 16, he wrote to the Socialist Party of America for information on their Young People Socialist League, saying he had been studying socialist principles for well over 15 months.
Dang.
Edward Vogel, whom the Warren Commission, which is the investigating of the assassination, they established him as Oswald's closest friend during his teenage years in New Orleans. They said that reports that Oswald was already studying communism were a lot of baloney.
All right. Paperback trash.
Oh, Edward Vogel said that.
All right.
A lot of baloney before that. Vogel said that Oswald commonly read paperback trash. As a teenager in 1955, he became a cadet member of the Civil Patrol in New Orleans.
Okay.
Fellow cadets variously recalled him attending CAP meetings 3 or 4 times, or 12 or 10 or 12 times, one of the two, over a 1 to 3 month period.
Okay.
It's a hell of a variation.
All right.
2 or 4, it was 10 or 12.
Right. Oswald enlisted in the United States Marine Corps, October 24th, 1956, just a week after his 17th birthday. Because of his age, his brother Robert Jr. was required to sign as his legal guardian. Why didn't Mama?
Right.
Oswald also named his mother and his half-brother John as beneficiaries. To what? His body?
Yeah.
Oswald idolized his older brother Robert Jr. and wore his Marine Corps ring. John Pick, Oswald's half-brother, testified to Warren Commission that Oswald's enlistment was motivated by wanting to get from out and under the yoke of oppression from my mother. Man, this dude just had serious muddy issues.
Mm.
Oswald's enlistment papers recite that he was 5 feet 8 inches. And he weighed 135 pounds. Dang, he was just a little skinny guy. He had hazel eyes and brown hair. His primary training was in radar operation, which required a security clearance. Ooh.
A May 1957 document stated he was granted final clearance to handle classified matter up to and including confidential after careful check of local records had disclosed no derogatory data.
Oh, okay.
At Keesler Air Force Base in Mississippi, Oswald finished 7th in a class of 30 in the aircraft control and warning operator course, which included instruction in aircraft surveillance and their use of radar. He was given the military occupational specialty of aviation electronics operator. July 9th, he reported to the Marine Corps Air Station El Toro in California, where he met fellow Marine Kerry Thornley, who co-created Discordianism. What is that?
I don't know.
That's a religion or philosophy centered on Eris, aka Discordia, the goddess of chaos. Uses archetypes or ideals associated with her, centered on the idea that both order and disorder are illusions imposed on the universe by the human nervous system, that neither of the illusions, apparent order and disorder, is any more accurate or objectively true than the other. Weird.
Yeah, that's some weird stuff there, bud.
Yeah. Thornley wrote the 1962 fictional book, The Idol Warriors, based on Oswald. Oh, this is before the assassination. Well, this is the only book written about Oswald before the assassination.
Oh, jeez.
Oswald departed for Japan the following month, where he was assigned to the Marine Air Control Squadron 1 at Naval Air Facility at Sugi near Tokyo.
Oh, look at that.
This dude's doing good now. I mean, he got away from his mother, and now he's actually doing something good that he's good at.
Right. Well, like all Marines, Oswald was trained and tested in shooting. 1956, month of December, he scored 212, which was slightly above the requirements for the designation of sharpshooter.
He's a sharpshooter, baby.
May 1959, he scored 191, which reduced his rating to marksman. How you get reduced?
Oh, bad day. You had a bad day.
You can't have a bad day.
Well, you did, clearly.
Your eyes twitching or something. Oswald was court-martialed after he accidentally shot himself in the elbow with an unauthorized 22 caliber handgun. How in the hell you shoot?
Not even a service weapon either.
He was court-martialed a second time for fighting with a sergeant who he thought was responsible for his punishment in the shooting matter.
Oh, jeez.
This guy. He was demoted from private first class to private and briefly imprisoned.
Jeez.
Oswald was later punished for a third incident while he was on a nighttime sentry duty in the Philippines. He inexplicably fired his rifle into the jungle. You can't do that.
No.
What a moron.
Yeah, this guy's... I thought, like I just said, I thought he was getting his shit together, and but...
Especially, I mean, if you're going to do this shit in the military, this dude's just going to be all kinds of hell.
Mm-hmm.
Slightly built, Oswald was nicknamed Ozzy Rabbit after the cartoon character. There was a cartoon character named Ozzy Rabbit.
Yes. Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. Isn't that the, it's the precursor to Mickey Mouse.
All right. He was also called Oswaldskovich because he espoused pro-Soviet sentiments.
This is in the military. He's over there. I love Russia. Or Soviet Union. November 58.
The Soviets wouldn't train like this.
Right.
They would let me fire off into the woods.
November 1958, Oswald transferred back to El Toro, where his unit's function was to surveil for aircraft, but basically to train both enlisted men and officers for later assignment overseas.
Damn, they're going to let this dude train other people? Obviously, he ain't doing shit right in the first place.
He was good at his job,
I guess.
apparently. An officer there said Oswald was very competent. See, he was a very competent crew chief and was brighter than most people.
Okay.
While Oswald was in the Marines, he taught himself rudimentary Russian.
Oh, geez.
Although this was an unusual endeavor, on February 25th, 1959, he was invited to take a Marine proficiency exam in written and spoken Russian.
Oh, shit.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you need people that can speak it.
All right.
His level at the time was rated poor and understand spoken Russian, though he fared rather reasonably for a Marine private at the time in reading and writing, though, so he could read it.
Right. You just can't say it.
Right. September 11th, 1959, he received a hardship discharge from active service claiming his mother needed care. He was placed in the United States Marine Corps Reserves.
Okay. 59?
59.
Take it, he never went back.
Mm-mm.
Oswald traveled to the Soviet Union just before he turned 20 in October 1959. He had taught himself Russian and saved $1,500 of his Marine Corps salary, equivalent to about $11,000 in 2021.
Nice.
Oswald spent 2 days with his mother in Fort Worth, then embarked by ship on September 20th from New Orleans to Le Havre in France, and immediately traveled to the United Kingdom, arriving in Southampton on the 9th of October. He told officials he had $700 and planned to stay for 1 week before proceeding to a school in Switzerland. On the same day, he flew to Helsinki, where he checked in at the Hotel Torni.
Isn't Helsinki in Finland?
Room 309. It could be. Then moved to Hotel Klaus Kirky, room 429. He was issued a Soviet visa on the 14th of October. Oswald left Helsinki by train on the following day, crossed the Soviet border at Vainikala, and arrived in Moscow on October 16th. Vainikala. Whatever. His visa, valid only for a week, was due to expire on the 21st. So he had, he only had a couple of days.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know. Almost immediately after arriving, he informed his in-tourist guide of his desire to become a Soviet citizen.
Hey.
When asked by the various Soviet officials he encountered, all of whom, by Oswald's account, found his wish incomprehensible, he said that he was a communist and gave what he described in his diary as vague answers about Great Soviet Union.
Right. He didn't know.
On October 21st, the day his visa was due to expire, he was told that his citizenship application had been refused.
Damn.
That he had to leave the Soviet Union that evening.
No, they tell you, you've got to go,
You got to get out of here, buddy. Distraught.
You're not the machine.
Right. They probably figured out this dude was in the military. We don't trust you.
Right. And they look at him and he's right. This dude's nuts.
Distraught, Oswald inflicted a minor but bloody wound to his left wrist in his hotel room bathtub soon before his in-tourist guide was due to arrive to escort him from the country. According to his diary, because he wished to kill himself in a way that would shock her. Delaying Oswald's departure because of his self-inflicted injury, the Soviets kept him in a Moscow hospital under psychiatric observation for a week till October 28th of 1959.
Hey,
this dude, wow.
Look at that, though. The old communist Russia helping the dude out. According to Oswald, he met with 4 more Soviet officials that day who asked if he wanted to return to the United States. Oswald replied by insisting that he wanted to live in the Soviet Union as a Soviet national. He's like, no, I want to stay here, boys. When pressed for identification papers, he provided his Marine Corps discharge papers. October 31st, Oswald appeared at the United States Embassy in Moscow and declared to desire to renounce his U.S. citizenship. He says, I have made up my mind. I'm through.
That's what he sounded like.
Right. He told, I made up my mind. I'm through. Hey, y'all.
Hey, y'all, I don't want to live. Get you. Hey, this dude probably has a southern drawl, and he's over there in Russia.
I won't be Soviet Union.
I won't be a communist.
I won't be a communist. He says, I have made up my mind. I'm through. He told the U.S. Embassy interviewing officer Richard Edward Snyder, with another 3-namer, I hate it, that he had been a radar operator in the Marine Corps, and that he had voluntarily stated to unnamed Soviet officials that as a Soviet citizen, he would make known to them such information concerning the Marine Corps and his specialty as he possessed. He said that he knew he might know something of special interest.
Wow, so this guy's turning on his country and they still let him back.
Right.
Wow. Such statements led to Oswald's hardship/honorable military reserve discharge being changed to undesirable. Yeah. Is that worse than a dishonorable?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Dishonorable is dishonorable. You have dishonor. It's worse than undesirable, right? I would say, right?
I don't think so.
Section 8 was also given to cross-dressers, gay, lesbian, bisexual, and trans people. Oh, cool. It's provided for the discharge of men who are deemed mentally unfit for military service.
Right.
So that's, dishonorable would still be worse than that, though. Yeah. Dishonorable means you did some real messed up shit.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like killing people and like that. That would be a dishonorable discharge.
No.
Or getting kicked out because you're an alcoholic. The story of the defection of a former U.S. Marine to the Soviet Union was reported by both the Associated Press and United Press International. And so he's in the news now. Though Oswald had wanted to attend Moscow State University in January 1960, he was sent to Minsk, Belarus, to work as a lathe operator at the Gorizont Electronics Factory, which produced radios, televisions, and military and space electronics. Okay. Stanislaw Shushkevich, who later became independent Belarus' first head of state, also worked at the Gorizont at the time and was assigned to help Oswald improve his Russian. Oswald received a government-subsidized, fully furnished studio apartment in a prestigious building and an additional supplement to his factory pay, which allowed him to have a more comfortable standard of living by working-class Soviet standards, though he was kept under constant surveillance.
Obviously.
Who gives a shit? Watch me all you want. You're paying for my apartment, my everything else, whatever.
For a country not wanting to be a citizen, they are sure.
Well, because he told him that they had information.
From mid-1960 to early 1961, Oswald was in a relationship with Ella German, a Belarusian co-worker born in 1937. They ate together in the factory cafeteria every day, dated about twice each week. German later described Oswald as a pleasant-looking guy with a good sense of humor. Not as rough and rude as the men here were back then. She did not love him, though, but thought he was lonely and continued to date him out of pity.
Oh, what a slut.
That's sad. The relationship became more serious.
Oh, it became more serious?
In Oswald's eyes.
Oh, okay.
During the summer and fall of 1960, but began to deteriorate after German learned in October that Oswald had been seeing other women.
Oh, Oswald. I thought it was serious.
Why would German care? She didn't like the guy.
Right.
January 2nd, 1961, Oswald proposed, but German said, "Fuck no!"
He then wrote in his diary in January of 1961, he said, "I am starting to reconsider my desire about staying.
Oh,
The work is drab. The money I get has nowhere to be spent. Yeah, no nightclubs or bowling alleys, no places of recreation except the trade union dances.
oh, jeez.
I've had enough." Shortly afterwards, Oswald, who had never formally renounced his U.S. citizenship, wrote to the embassy of the United States in Moscow requesting the return of his American passport and proposing to return to the U.S. if any charges against him would be dropped. Like, they give a shit.
Right. They were like, really?
Really? You want to return?
Oh.
Gives a shit.
Oh. Like, you
What
can
kind of
return
charges? Right. He could be
treason.
I was surprised. Yeah. Treason and all that shit.
Jeez. March 1961, Oswald met Marina Prusakova, born in 1941, a 19-year-old pharmacology student. They married 6 weeks later.
Damn.
The Oswald's first child was June, was born on February 15th, 1962. May 24th, 1962, Oswald and Marina applied at the U.S. Embassy in Moscow for documents that enabled her to immigrate to the United States. Okay, yeah, I mean, we might as well.
Mm-hmm.
June 1st, the U.S. Embassy gave Oswald a repatriation loan of $435.71.
Keyword loan, though.
Right. Oswald, Marina, and their infant daughter left for the United States, where they received less attention from the press than Oswald expected.
Who gives a shit about you, Oswald?
Wait.
Nobody cares.
Right. He was like, watch it.
There's going to be a flood of people waiting for us at the airport. No. Well, the Oswald student settled in the Dallas-Fort Worth area where Lee's mother and brother had lived. He began a manuscript on Soviet life, though he eventually gave up the project.
What a fucking loser. This guy.
He
never completes anything.
No, he doesn't. The Oswalds also became acquainted with a number of anti-communist Russian and East European people in the area. Why? In testimony to the Warren Commission, Alexander Kleinlehrer said that the Russian people sympathized with Marina while morally tolerating Oswald, whom they regarded as rude and arrogant.
He probably was.
I lived in Soviet Union and blah, 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 right?
Right.
Although the Russian people eventually abandoned Marina when she made no sign of leaving her husband, Oswald found an unlikely friend in 51-year-old Russian immigrant,
Yes.
right? For political reasons, though. George de Mohrenschildt, a well-educated petroleum geologist with international business connections.
Okay.
A native of Russia, Mohrenschildt later told the Warren Commission that Oswald had a remarkable fluency in Russian.
Oh, remarkable.
Marina, meanwhile, befriended Ruth Payne, a Quaker trying to learn Russian, and her husband, Michael Payne, who worked for Bell Helicopter.
Oh, look at that.
Okay, what are these people? Who cares?
Right. July 1862. Oswald was hired by the Leslie Welding Company in Dallas. He disliked the work and quit after 3 months. October 12th, he started working for the graphic arts firms of Jaggers, Chili's, and Stovall as a photo print trainee. A fellow employee at Jaggers, Chili's, and Stovall testified that Oswald's rudeness at his new job was such that fights threatened to break out. It's like, this guy was just so rude that people want to punch his face in. And that he once saw Oswald reading a Russian language publication.
Okay.
Right. Oswald was fired in the first week of April 1963.
Jeez. March 1963, Oswald used the alias A. Heidel to make a mail order purchase of a secondhand 6.5 millimeter caliber Carcano rifle for $29.95.
Used rifle for $30, huh?
He also purchased a 38 Smith & Wesson Model 10 revolver by the same method.
Okay.
The Warren Commission concluded that Oswald attempted to kill retired U.S. Major General Edwin Walker on April 10th of 1963.
Dang.
And that Oswald fired the Carcano rifle at Walker through a window from less than 100 feet away as Walker sat at a desk in his Dallas home.
Dang.
The bullet struck the window frame, and Walker's only injuries were bullet fragments to the forearm.
Dang.
United States House Select Committee on Assassination stated that the evidence strongly suggested that Oswald carried out the shooting. So, wow, okay. I never heard that one before.
No, what the hell? This guy's got like a. Where's the FBI on this one? Where are you at there, Hoover?
Right.
General Walker was an outspoken.
Or maybe they knew that he tried to assassinate him, and that's when they were like, "Oh, this guy, huh?"
They're like, "Boys, we got a guy."
Maybe that was the first one they assigned
Right.
him to assassinate.
Right. See if he can do it.
Right. Well, clearly, I don't know why they would have went back to him then, because he fucking failed.
And they probably gave him a real rifle. First of all, you're using a terrible rifle.
Oh, it's the one he used.
Oh, well, maybe they cleaned it up for him. General Walker was an outspoken anti-communist segregationist and a member of the John Birch Society. Ooh.
Well, I don't see why they would want to kill General Walker then.
1961, Walker had been relieved of his command of the 24th Division of the United States Army in West Germany for distributing right-wing literature to his troops.
Hey, you can't do that.
Walker's later actions in opposition to racial integration at the University of Mississippi led to his arrest on insurrection. Oh. He was temporarily held in a mental institution on orders from President Kennedy's brother, Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy.
Why?
But a grand jury declined to indict him. No indictment. Marina Oswald testified that her husband told her that he traveled by bus to General Walker's house and shot at Walker with his rifle. She said that Oswald considered Walker to be the leader of a fascist organization.
Jeez, I know Oswald left for Marina on the night of the attempt, telling her what to do if he did not return, was found 10 days after the Kennedy assassination.
Oh, I'm sure it was. 10 days after. Come on.
And he left this in April?
Right. This bitch ain't going to find this.
Right. Before the Kennedy assassination, Dallas police had no suspects in the Walker shooting. But Oswald's involvement was suspected within hours of his arrest following the assassination. Of course it was. The Walker bullet was too damaged to run conclusive ballistic studies on it. But neutron activation analysis later showed that it was extremely likely that it was made by the same manufacturer and for the same rifle make as the two bullets which later struck Kennedy.
They don't know shit.
Sure.
George de Mohrenschildt testified that he knew that Oswald disliked General Walker.
Okay.
Regarding this, George and his wife, Jean, recalled an incident that occurred the weekend following the Walker assassination attempt. George and his wife testified that on April 14th, 1963, just before Easter Sunday, they were visiting the Oswalds at their new apartment and had brought them a toy Easter bunny to give to the child. As Oswald's wife, Marina, was showing Jean around the apartment, they discovered Oswald's rifle standing upright, leaning against the wall inside a closet.
Well, not that concerning.
Jean told George that Oswald had a rifle.
George, he's got a rifle.
And George joked to Oswald, "Were you the one who took a pot shot at General Walker?" When asked about Oswald's reaction to this question, George told Warren Commission that Oswald smiled at that.
It's like the scene in Breaking Bad where he gives, what's his name, the bag to put in the thing. He's like, "Wow, this is heavy. What do you got in there?" He's like, $500,000. And he's like, you don't know. You've never seen it, but whatever. Everybody knows that scene Breaking Bad knows what I'm talking about. But it was really $500,000 in there, but he thought he was joking.
Who's never seen Breaking Bad?
You never seen the whole thing?
Of course.
Oh, you haven't?
Idiot.
Then you would know what I'm talking about.
When George's wife, Jean, was asked about Oswald's reaction, she said, "I didn't notice anything. We started laughing our heads off. Big joke. Big George's joke." Big George's joke.
Big George's joke.
Yeah. And the women always have to laugh at their husband's jokes. They don't even know what the fuck they're talking about. Jean testified that this was the last time she or her husband ever saw the Oswalds again.
That was in April? What happened?
And they're like, fuck that. We ain't going back to that.
Right. He had a rifle. Oswald returned to New Orleans on April 24th, 1963. Marina's friend Ruth Payne drove her by car from Dallas to join Oswald in New Orleans the following month. May 10th, Oswald was hired by the Riley Coffee Company as a machinery greaser.
Ooh.
He was fired in July because, quote unquote, his work was not satisfactory and because he spent too much time loitering in Adrian Alba's garage next door where he read rifle and hunting magazines. What?
I mean, how much stuff do you have to grease, really? You should have to do that every once in a while.
Probably like every day.
Man, I doubt that.
In his 1988 book, On the Trail of the Assassins, New Orleans District Attorney Jim Garrison claimed that Oswald really spent that time across the street at 544 Camp Street.
Okay.
These were the law offices of Guy Bannister, a former FBI agent, an avid segregationist, and a local politician.
Okay.
Garrison added that Guy Bannister, during the summer of 1963 in New Orleans, was most interested in infiltrating the Fair Play for Cuba Committee and used Oswald as his spy.
Really? Well, in their 1978 investigation, the House Select Committee on Assassinations investigated a possible connection between Oswald and Bannister at the Camp Street address. The HSCA wrote that it could find no documentary proof that Bannister had a file on Lee Harvey Oswald, nor could the committee find credible witnesses who ever saw Lee Harvey Oswald and Guy Bannister together. There are indications, however, that Bannister at least knew of Oswald's leafletting activities and probably maintained a file on him. Probably. Just we could have find
Probably. I'll probably be back.
Probably back. May 26, Oswald wrote to the New York City headquarters of the Pro-Fidel Castro Fair Play for Cuba Committee, proposing to rent a small office at my own expense for the purpose of forming a FPCC branch here in Nolens. Well,
3 days later, the FPCC responded to Oswald's letter advising against opening a New Orleans office, quote unquote, at least not at the very beginning.
all right, we're not saying no, just not right now.
All right. In a follow-up letter, Oswald replied, against your advice, I've decided to take an office from the very beginning. Okay.
Why even?
Right.
Jeez.
May 29th, Oswald ordered the following items from a local printer. 500 application forms, 300 membership cards. I was ordered 200 less membership cards than the applications, but whatever. 1,000 leaflets with the heading "Hands Off Cuba."
Hands off, Cuba.
No, there's no. No, we want Cuba to have their hands on, just not us on Cuba.
Right.
According to Marina, Lee told her to sign the name A.J. Heidel as chapter president on his membership card. According to anti-Castro militant Carlos Bringuer, Oswald visited him on August 5th and 6th at the store he owned in New Orleans. Carlos was the New Orleans delegate for the anti-Castro organization Directorio Revolucionario Estudiantil. I don't know if that's right, but it's DRE.
Obviously, you have to do something revolutionary.
Still.
Director of Revolution, Revolt. Bringuer would later tell the Warren Commission that he believed Oswald's visits were an attempt by Oswald to infiltrate his group.
Okay. Anybody saying anything?
Nobody said nothing.
After the assassination, everybody that's getting interviewed was like, I really have to, because it's already out that he killed the fucking president. Right. So now everybody's like, I really think he did. I think he was trying to do this. Right. I think he was trying to do that.
That's some garbage shit just to get a style. Right. On August 9th, Oswald turned up in downtown Nolens, handing out pro-Castro leaflets. Bringuer confronted Oswald, claiming he was tipped off about Oswald's leafletting by a friend. A scuffle ensued, and Oswald
fisticuffs.
Right, and a scuffle ensued, and Oswald Bringuer and two of Bringuer's friends were arrested for disturbing the peace. Prior to leaving the police station, Oswald requested to speak with an FBI agent.
Because there's just one on hand in the police station.
Oswald told the agent, I guess so. Oswald told the agent that he was a member of the Nolens branch of the Fair Play for Cuba Committee, which he claimed had 35 members and was led by A.J. Heidel. In fact, Oswald was the branch's only member and has never been chartered by the national organization.
Of course. A week later, on August 16th, Oswald again passed out Fair Play for Cuba leaflets with two hired helpers, guards, this time in front of the International Trade Mart. Incident was filmed by WDSU, a local TV station. Next day, Oswald was interviewed by WDSU radio commentator William Stuckey, who probed Oswald's background. A few days later, he accepted Stuckey's invitation to take part in a radio debate with Carlos Bringuer and Bringuer's associate Edward Scannell Butler, head of the Right-Wing Information Council of the Americas, the Inca.
Incas.
Did he do it? Let's see.
Well, Marina's friend, Ruth Payne, transported Marina and her child by car from Nolens to Payne's home in Irving, Texas. She's like, I ain't come back again. She's like, Texas is a huge state to drive across, mofo. Shit.
They ain't doing this shit again. I like you, Marina, but you got to get your head off your ass and divorce this guy or
get
something.
Shit together.
Stupid.
September 23rd, 1963. That's when she did that. Oswald stayed in New Orleans at least 2 more days to collect a $33 unemployment check.
Dang, you needed that.
All right. It is uncertain when he left Nolens. He is next known to have boarded a bus in Houston on September 26th, bound for the Mexican border rather than Dallas, and to have told other bus passengers that he planned to travel to Cuba via Mexico. How you can get to Cuba? Mexico. I'm going to swim across the
little thing, the Rio Grande. Huh?
He arrived in Mexico City on September 27th.
Damn, dude. People don't know Mexico City's like way down in the south of Mexico.
Down, dude.
That's a long way down.
Way down. Where he applied for a transit visa at the Cuban consulate, claiming he wanted to visit Cuba on his way to the Soviet Union. He's like, I just want to visit all you communist motherfuckers. The Cuban consular.
I want to visit Cuba on my way to the Soviet Union.
That was his way.
First of all, the Soviet Union is not even on the way.
Right. Well, the Cuban consular officials insisted Oswald would need a Soviet approval, but Oswald was unable to get prompt cooperation from the Soviet consulate.
He's like, yeah, you're the douchebag that was residing in our country for free for however many months, and then you left because you couldn't take it.
Dude, we couldn't even rent out that apartment. You're right. CIA documents know Oswald spoke terrible, hardly recognizable Russian. I thought that one guy.
I thought he said he spoke remarkably fluent.
Right.
Fluent.
Well, the CIA said that when he was speaking with Cuban and Soviet officials, it was terribly unrecognizable Russian. Jeez, OP.
Okay. After 5 days, the shuttle in between consulates and including a heated argument with an official at the Cuban consulate. That's not going to get you nowhere. Impassioned pleas to KGB agents and at least some CIA scrutiny. Oswald was told by a Cuban consular officer that he was disinclined to approve the visa, saying a person like Oswald, in place of aiding the Cuban Revolution, was doing it harm. Yeah.
That's to say something.
Yeah. Later on October 18th, the Cuban embassy approved the visa, but by this time, Oswald was back in the United States and had given up his plans to visit Cuba and the Soviet Union. Jeez. This dude is a quitter. He just doesn't see anything through. Except for assassinating somebody, apparently.
Maybe.
Still later, 11 days before the assassination of President Kennedy, Oswald wrote to the Soviet embassy in Washington, D.C., saying, had I been able to reach the Soviet embassy in Havana as planned, the embassy there would have had time to complete our business.
Okay. And they're like,
why are you writing to us?
Right. Jeez, OP. Well, the Warren Commission concluded that Oswald had visited Mexico City and the Cuban and Soviet consulates. Questions regarding whether someone posing as Oswald had appeared at the embassies were serious enough to be investigated by the House Select Committee on Assassinations.
Okay, wait.
Where was this guy at?
Wait a minute. This dude, Oswald, he's just some random Joe Schmo. Who the fuck would be impersonating him?
I mean, come on. He was expecting tons of press.
I guess. I don't know. There has to be something more background to this that hasn't been released, because this guy's obviously serious enough where he's bartering with the U.S. government first to return to Russia.
And plus, he's bartering with Russia and Cuba.
Clearly, any charges did get dropped because he returned to Russia or United States. Nothing happened to him. And I don't know, something. He's got a relationship and something's going on here.
He's bartering with Russia and Cuba.
Yeah.
And then Cuba's like, yeah, you can come.
Right.
We'll give you a visa.
I don't know what the hell's going on here, dude.
Well, they know he left, probably. We'll give him a visa. The committee agreed with the Warren Commission that Oswald had visited Mexico City and concluded that the majority of evidence tends to indicate that Oswald visited the consulates. But the committee could not rule out the possibility of that someone else had used his name in visiting the consulates. I don't think so.
Who? Unless it was, I don't know, this obviously plays into the conspiracies.
According to CIA document released in 2017, it is possible Oswald was trying to get the necessary documents from the embassies to make a quick escape to the Soviet Union after the assassination. No, I don't think so.
Shut up. October 2nd, 1963, Oswald left Mexico City by bus and arrived in Dallas the next day. Ruth Payne said that her neighbor told her on October 4th. Oh, come on.
Get the fuck out of here.
On October 14th about a job opening at the Texas School Book Depository where her neighbor's brother, Wesley Frazier, worked. Mrs. Payne informed Oswald, who was interviewed at the depository and hired there on October 16th at a $1.25 hour minimum wage.
Oh, shit.
He was an order filler. Oswald's supervisor, Roy S. Truly, who died in 1985, said that Oswald did a good day's work.
That was it.
And was an above average employee.
Did a good day's work.
During the week, Oswald stayed in Dallas rooming house under the name O.H. Lee. 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 But he spent his weekends with Marina at the Payne home in Irving. Why is Marina living with the Paynes anyways? Oswald did not drive a car, but he commuted to and from Dallas on Mondays and Fridays with his co-worker, Wesley Frazier. October 20th, a month before the assassination, Oswald's second daughter, Audrey, was born. What a piece of shit, dude.
Right.
What a piece of shit.
Well, the Dallas branch.
I'm curious to see if there's any records of how he treated his kid, and like clearly wasn't there for her life either, because he's just running around trying to do Cuban shit, and his mother's the one that like abandoned him and
trying to do Cuban shit.
And he has relationship, no non-existent relationship with his mom, and obviously never knew his dad.
Right.
You'd think it would be different, but clearly not. Huh?
So far,
It's less than a month before the assassination.
I'm saying, as much as we got all the information we got so far, is this guy's a loose cannon, pretty much.
Yeah, does whatever he wants, and it seems like he's got a little bit of what the people nowadays would call ADD or ADHD or something. Never tended. His attention's always turned to something else. Seems like
Quickly, unless it really grabs his attention.
Well, right,
like trying to get the Soviet Union or something. I mean,
not even that. He gave up on that. I'm leaving.
I mean, what are you gonna do, right?
Jeez, dude.
Well, I mean,
well, I went home.
yeah, I don't know here, man. This is rough stuff already. We already got conspiracy shit already in the beginning. The neighbor's cousin's next door neighbor from down the road.
She was the
friend.
Well, yeah,
Come on.
that turned out to be not so. As I thought.
Now we got
ended up as.
Now we got a bunch of Oswald imposters running around
I know,
Mexico City
trying to get to the consulates. I mean, come on. Who the hell would do that besides Oswald?
So stupid. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So far, before this is before the shooting, and this guy's already should have been on several watch lists. He should have been not
But yeah, he was allowed
to
to go talk to. He was allowed to go talk to a bunch of different government.
He talked to officials in Russia,
Cuba.
He talked to FBI agents at will. He's like, I want to talk to an FBI agent. They're like, okay, all right. Let me go to somewhere and just be like, I want to talk to an FBI agent. They're gonna be like, fuck you,
Right.
unless you like have a crime or something. That, yeah, I don't know. Like
Wow.
this is all weird.
This dude was having an apartment paid for by freaking Russia.
And negotiating with consulates in a communist country.
All known by the United States,
Right.
too.
And supposedly, they even said in the beginning when he was trying to defect from the United States and be a Soviet citizen, the AP and some other newspaper reported on it.
Right.
So I guess he had to have been a little bit of name. That's why he was expecting people to be there when he got back. But obviously, he's on the radar of everybody in America that on the higher level that deal with this shit. This is the height of the Cold War right now. And yeah, I don't know, dude. There's something. Russia, Cuban, or the actual United States government, one of those three.
Well, this ain't the height of the Cold War.
1963, for sure.
Vietnam.
No. The early 60s and the 50s, late 50s, that's when they're literally having tests to get down under your desk when the alarm sounded and shit.
That was in the 80s.
Oh, hell no. That was in the 50s and 60s. Yeah, so clearly one of those three, whatever you want to say, governments or organizations from those governments, they all have their hand in Oswald so far.
And they were all in contact with each other, too. Like, you believe this guy?
Right, probably.
Can you believe this guy? He's back.
Jeez. And to think, like we said, that's just the tip of the iceberg, because that's just about
we didn't even get
Oswald.
into the real
we did not even we didn't even get into what this episode's supposed to be about.
Nope.
Yeah, that'll do it for the first episode of this. Now it's for sure going to be a 3-parter now that this is already an hour in. The next part will obviously be the assassination and the immediate aftermath, and then we'll probably end it
with some more stupid
with conspiracies on the third episode. So yeah, we got a big one, and we're headed right into when the FBI first notices Oswald, supposedly, according to them, and his actions leading up to allegedly, we're supposed to say, right? Or allegedly going up into the depository and the shooting, the aftermath, and all that good stuff. And that'll be next week's episode for the 59th anniversary, dude. It's been a long time. 59. I know that's guys are like, why are you guys celebrating? We're not celebrating anything, first of all. Why are you guys doing it on the 59th anniversary? Because who knows if we're going to be doing this in the 60th anniversary of this shit. So
either way,
might as well get it out of the way now. But
either way, it can be re-released. That's rerun, baby.
That is true. We'll be back next week for the assassination
proclamation
of JFK. We're the Mouth of Michiganders with Bang Dang.